rain. Dobbo, if we can start with the team, I think we've got 3 guys in the starting lineup coming back from injury. That's JJ, Nama, and Dan. And then on the bench is obviously JD. So, we're starting to get these guys back in and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think so indicated that's go more and more towards the British and Irish Lions. We get a bit stronger. Thrilled to have JD back, JD and Nama back. They've been out for a long time, so it's great. They're really important players for us. A bit of a blow about Saman being out for longer than we thought, but with next you don't take chances. But I'm very happy with the team we're putting out. I think we're heading in the right direction.
And in terms of building on what we did last week, good training week, obviously, and want to put up a better performance.
Yeah, I think we had a certain plan for last week, which wasn't necessarily the prettiest, and obviously was very close. But we knew what that game would look like. But we are certainly looking forward to put together a more sort of appealing performance tomorrow, and an forceful performance than we did last week.
Yeah, and obviously we had our first home game last week. We're back at home now. It's important to back that up, right?
Yeah, I think obviously we want to keep that momentum going. Like I've mentioned it a few times in the last few weeks, we really want to build on the Cape Town Stadium thing and make it difficult for teams to come there. So obviously grafted out quite hard on the win last week. So ready for tomorrow and hopefully keep the momentum going.
Cool. All right, guys. Questions from you for these two?
Hi, guys. Nice to see you. Darby, I just want to check. You mentioned Salman.
Yeah, we took him conservatively. We took him out for
close to. Be out for? I understand he did go for neck surgery, didn't he?
Yeah. So with that neck thing, there was a bit of pressure on the cord from the disc, which is obviously something you don't mess around with. We went conservative, almost week by week, treating it clinically, and then rescanned it about last week, just to get his return to play, because they actually should have been ideally playing tomorrow night. And then there was still some pressure there. So, if it didn't heal itself as naturally or organically or as quickly as we thought. So he has gone for surgery, which will put him out between 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, Dobbo, that's a huge blow for a player. Initially he was in Rassie's plans for the series against the Lions, and obviously for you as well. I mean, what do you tell Salman?
Look, it's a blow for his look. He was you're right. He was in the national mix. He was in the lineman camps, whichever month that was in. It's a massive blow for this team, because he's I think we'd agree that I think we've done moved Ernst in from loose forwards. Him and David done very well. But, we'd be better with JD and Saman and Ernst in the flank would have been nice. But I think we've done very well in the interim. But that's a big loss for us. The main thing is that the surgery now will guarantee his return to the field in time for the United Rugby Championship. The URC, I get confused with WRC, but URC. And I think we have to go that route now, because it's a guarantee, because we did obviously just don't want to operate on a neck on too young a player, but he will definitely be back.
And with you name an extended bench, can we assume that Juan de Jong will be on the bench that you finalize?
Yeah, at this stage, it looks unlikely that he will be. We just want to check on we got 1 or 2 niggles, one of which Ernst was a little bit ill, but he seems okay now. He's okay now. So I think Juan will probably miss out on the bench at this stage. We wanted to maybe give him 10 or 15 minutes, to be absolutely frank with you, to get him ready for the British and Irish Lions. But there are 2 things that happened since we sort of thought about it. A, he's trained incredibly. He's been an incredible presence on the field, just really, really superb at training. And then secondly, we do have the fact that Nama and JD are both returning from long injuries and are unlikely to make 80 minutes. So we may have to go 6-2, which will mean Juan missing out, because we need a flyer for a cover on the bench and place kicker.
And Robert, just the changes, can you run us through them? Also an interesting one is scrum off. You mentioned Paul de Wet did quite well last week, so you can just give me your thoughts generally on the changes.
Okay. obviously Grey J comes back from injury. Netling unfortunately had a bereavement in his family, so has been at home up in Rustenburg. So he wasn't available. I think gets back today, but he hasn't been available. Obviously, you know about Nama returned from injury, which is simple enough. And then who was it? Johan de Tooy coming at 7 for Chiva. That's straight injury replacement. Godwin and Paul de Vet, Paul was outstanding last week. We've got a plan over the next 3 weeks. We go the British and Irish Lions next Saturday. We go Cheetahs on a Wednesday, and then next weekend the Pumas. So we've got a plan for the use of Paul. So that's purely a rotational thing to manage our load over the next. We haven't brought in yet, a third scrum off yet, which we're going to at some stage in Thomas Percy. So that's purely rotational. And the rest, Dan returning from injury, and that's it.
Dobbo, how do you guys prepare for a team like the Griquas, who are highly unpredictable, and also that probably that one team in South Africa that you can't let you guard down up until the final whistle is blown?
Yeah, we had an experience of that in the preparation series. I think we were up 38-3 or something. I can't remember what it was, and it ended up being a thriller. No, it's a tough team to prepare against, almost like the Cheetahs. They've got a good maul, for example, but can score from anywhere. It's not quite a paradigm where it's just the pack. Look, and it's more attractive to play them down here than up there where that Hoffy Park, or what it's called. I'm not sure what it's called at the moment. But it's fast and wide. But I think the key thing is that if we're better at set piece than we were last time, I'm not sure. I think we could put them under some pressure at set piece. We have to improve, which we are doing. We changed our system, and we had some growing pains last week around the maul defense, and just be aware that they can run the ball from anywhere. But Cape Town Stadium and Winter is slightly different to Kimberley, so hopefully we can close it down. But I think the key for us is that we get through more phases, we play direct, we play with ball in hand, and that's why we can put them under real pressure.
Ernst, wat het julle hierdie week gedoen om aan die keer van die rolmaalbewegings te werk?
I think the last few weeks or actually throughout the season, we've evolved quite a bit. I think just like as Dobbo mentioned, just some growing pains. One or two things, making sure we have absolute clarity, and also making sure we are stopping it effectively, but also within the laws. I think we adjusted a bit last week or the last 2-3 weeks to be more effective and to give less to sort of minimize the grey area, which would force the ref to make a decision, so that we most of the time will hopefully get the benefit of the doubt. So we've implemented that quite hard, and I think we're on the right path, and hopefully we can prove that tomorrow evening and step up there.
You mentioned Cape Town Stadium, and you guys want to make that a bit of a fortress and so on. Have you guys got some Stormers branding, or when you guys come out of the tunnel, for example, in Newlands, there's a lot of pics that create some atmosphere and so on, some classic pictures. Have you guys got any of that to kind of make it feel like home?
Yeah, I must say, although obviously throughout the week, but game day, the change room is quite something special. It's obviously the DHL branding, but also the Stormers. It's quite nicely set up, the change rooms, which makes it quite personal. Obviously a bit different from Newlands with a bit more space and stuff, but also special in a certain way. And I'm sure as we go on, going forward, the stadium will also get sort of coloured in a bit. But I must say, thus far, it's a different kind of special, but I think we're building towards that, and creating something special also in the new stadium.
Obviously, Stephen, Cape Town City leave those toilet seats down. No,
it's quite funny, Dobbo, but I actually, I don't want to get all intellectual here, but I actually went through some academic articles in my studies about moving stadiums and home advantage as it relates to home advantage, which is actually why I'm asking. But I apologize if that question came a little bit across turn or out of turn or challenging.
No, it's a good question. I think it's something that we have to work on. Definitely. I'm not sure, you have to ask my bosses where we are in the actual, the formality of because we went in there, close. Yeah, we are, we're not formally, I think at the moment we're just a tenant. I really could be speaking under correction. We're not the anchor tenant yet, but that'll change. And Cape Town, we know the rooms that we're going to have available, whether it's for meeting, coaches, extra gym stuff, which are totally personalized to us. So we're probably a bit in a transition phase at the moment with Steve at the moment. But at the moment, what I think we're just enjoying is the sheer logistics of the facility, which is so good.
Yeah, because I think, to be fair to you guys also, it's not easy to make a stadium move. I mean, because you get used to a certain feel and something feels like home, and then you do move into a new home. So it's not easy. And I guess people mustn't underestimate as well in terms of the challenge for the team, especially since there are no crowds.
Yeah, I mean, if I said it, to probably come across as some form of excuse, but it is very different, especially as we still train at Newlands, which is great. Personally, I find it, I'm sure Ernst as well, guys having grown up here. We're speaking to you from Newlands right now, in that same boardroom where we normally have press conference, when people were allowed here. So that's got all that nostalgia. So it's we've got our feet are in between the two places at the moment. And that's, it is disconcerting, especially without the fans. Yeah, we used to playing home games with that noise at Newlands. So it is different to be at a new stadium, not completely moved in there with no fans. But as Ernst says, that's what something like tomorrow night's important. We can just start building some momentum and almost us build trust in the place and excitement about the place.
And just your general thoughts on Griquas and the danger that they pose.
I think from my side, obviously, I think Doa mentioned it, but we all know they're sort of unpredictable. Although they obviously always quite a physical side and take you on physically with the balls, like we mentioned earlier, but they also have a sort of exciting and throw the ball around and can sort of score from anywhere. I think they're a dangerous team if you sort of give them a snuff. To expect from them, I just think obviously our set piece needs to be good. Something we pride on, and we've been a bit on and off the last few weeks, so we'll sort that out. Like I said, the Griquas just being ready for anything. Expect anything and actually react on it and make sure the loose balls or the scraps that come to our side that we really kill it, instead of the game getting a bit too loose and that giving them an entrance into the game.
No, I just think we got a lot of respect for. I think it's Gideon Swart, the open sider, and Ruan Steenkamp, who's the eighth. So they're two fetchers. Just something for us to be aware of, taking the breakdown. But I think I think the breakdown is something we're going to see tidied up a little bit by referees across the board over the next while. So, but it's just something for us to be aware of.
When is Dion Ferrier arriving?
I think August. I'm not sure. It's back end of August. Early August. Mike says early August, which is great. Before we did that signing, we did a lot of research on Grenoble, Lyon, how he'd gone there, and I can tell you across both leagues, to my mind, he was the outstanding stealer across both Pro D2, whatever it's called, and the top four. Confused, top 14. But so I'm really excited what he can do on the ground. I think he's going to be a national leader on stealing, hopefully.
Tabo, you mentioned Steelers. It must be good to have a guy like Nama back. And then I just wanted to also ask you with regards to the centers, Dan and Rikus changing inside, outside, and also the fact that Juan is not going to be there because of the 6-2 split. He's a guy we know can play both inside and outside. So with Rikus and Dan, you mentioned previously that Dan is more of an inside center, so that's probably your thinking there.
Yeah, I think the first point. Yeah, Nama is a massive. Nama is just, we all know, you guys know as well as we do, what a talent he is and how frustrated we've been with the injuries. I mean, he was outstanding that day in the first game of the Rainbow Cup against the Sharks. Absolutely brilliant. So we can't wait to have him back. We won't play him a whole game tomorrow. We've got to build him. But yeah, that's exciting. I think maybe in retrospect, Nani, because Rickers was going so well at 12, I was probably a bit remiss in not swapping those two a bit earlier, because Dan is more a natural 12. And if you think that somehow how Griquas defends some ways, the way he cuts off wide options, and the way he runs into space, maybe we should have switched him to 13 a little bit earlier. He's only done one game for us, so that we need to give him more time there. But that was the thinking. You did write about Juba. Unfortunately, he only got to we trained Saturday. He's only done the 2 sessions, but he's been brilliant. But I've got no doubt that he can contribute in either role. But I think where his big contribution is going to be at leadership on the field, And so he, we wanted him to play like he didn't want to. He's actually been really training really, really hard to get back. So his body was a bit sore. So he was a bit iffy about playing against Griquas because his body was so sore from from training. But I think we've seen at training now that he'll be okay to play, whether it's off the bench or starting against the British and Irish Lions. And we really think that'll be a nice, he played against them in 2009. It'd be magic for him to play against us. I've just got to be sensitive to the guys who've done loyal service. So whether that's from the bench or starting or 12 or 13, that'll probably all be decided after tomorrow night, because that can change with one injury in any of these positions. But I think it's only fair that the guys who've got us into the Lions bubble are sort of are rewarded to play in that game.
Thanks.
Coach, apart from injuries, sorry, Adnan, you can go.
No, go ahead. Thanks.
Apart from injuries in the next week or so, could we more or less, is this the team that's going to play against the British and Irish Lions?
Yeah, I think there'll be a couple of guys coming in. Obviously, Netling will come back from his personal situation that he's been in. I'm trying to think if any Zas will be back to full fitness. Tristan Lates will be back, and we'll see where Warwick Galant is. So, but this will be definitely the core of the team going into the Lions thing. And then if there are any releases after the SAA game, which was originally talked about, but I'm not sure that's still the case. Whether, and I don't want to speculate which players they are, but there was talk that after SAA that the Springbok squad would change. But whether they can play and come into our bubble, I haven't even got that far yet. We'll plan without.
Cool. Any final questions?
Yes, Mikey. Sorry, Dobbo, Ernst. I was just in another press conference, so I didn't get the first part. But do you have a possible explanation of how the next 2 weeks will work for you? Did you cover that in the first part of the presser?
No, we didn't, and I still think I to be honest, I think it's still quite fluid. We obviously hearing the story. You also hearing all sorts of stories. But from our point of view, and our planning point of view, we play against Griquas on Wednesday. We have a couple of days to isolate, go get PCR tested once, come back, and then we go into a bubble on Monday. Having isolated at home, go into a bubble on Monday to play Saturday, and then come out of that bubble either Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure. I think, and then actually the week after is quite tricky for us because we go away to Bloemfontein and we go away to Nelspruit. So we're going to have to be very careful with our teams and how we mix and match. Ask guys to play against not a pretty strong team on the Saturday against the British and Irish Lions, then go to Bloemfontein and then go to Cheetahs in 1 week. To the Puma in 1 week. It's going to be very tough. So we've got some challenges around our planning there. But that's the planning for the Lions thing, is that at this stage we go into the bubble on Monday, but start sort of isolating a few days before that with constant testing.
And then is Tom still involved with the squad? I mean, he's been part of the UCT bio bubble. Has he made any contribution to preparing the guys for the bubble, keeping busy in it, and then also playing in it, and then coming out and adapting to that?
Yeah, look, I mean, he hasn't done that with the players, but we had a session last night with the coaches about it. How to make it stimulating, when's too much rugby, make them think about rugby. Yeah, it's a balancing act. And also critically about the turnaround time. So it's for us to go Lions, Cheetahs, Pumas within 7 or 8 days, it's going to be tough. So they had that experience in Varsity Cup. But Tom is still involved. He's not a full-time coach or full-time with us, but he is an advisor and a high-performance coach. So yeah, he is giving us lots of advice. I don't want to spoil it. We get to share some quite fun ideas now, but I don't want to talk about Ernst and Pinkfest until a bit later, until we got to organize.
Cool. Litton, you happy?
Yes, thank you, Mikey.
Nice one.
Mike's in a bad mood.
Thanks, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow. Hope you'll be in a better
Cheers,
mood once
guys.
we beat the Griquas.
Thanks, chaps.
Cheers.